Welcome back to my favorite adventure YouTube channel on the internet. So what we're doing today is going out to explore a national park I didn't even know existed at the beginning of this year. This is Big Bend National Park. So if you look real quick, this is a national park on the edge of New Mexico. In the edge of Texas, right down here is the New Mexico line. I am right here at the beginning of the park. And one of the things I'm most excited about with this park is if you come down this roadway right here, it's Panther Junction, and into the Rio Grande Village. First off, we get to see one of the most famous rivers ever. This is the Rio Grande River, but they also have 3 active hot springs that you can sit in here at the Big Bend National Park. This is a very desolate environment, very uninhabitable to people. That means we're going to be able to see a lot of untouched places, a lot of beautiful hot springs, potentially some gorgeous wildlife like javelina. I would love to see a javelina. We're also going to do a little bit of practice today as I have a hunting trip coming up in next fall that you're definitely going to see on this YouTube channel. That me and my boys are going to go out. We're going to try to hunt for the first time. And I'm going to start practicing some scouting real quick. I want to get connected to the land a little bit more, and that's what this trip is all about, getting connected to the land, experiencing the true nature. So let's get out there. What we're doing right now is actually hiking out to this little canyon way out there in the distance. I'm very excited for it. This isn't just a hike. This isn't just a short experience. This is a real wilderness expedition where we're going to be living in the wild, spending the night out here and going into the woods to experience hopefully some wildlife like javelina. There's black bears that live in this park. We're right on the edge of New Mexico, so there's definitely desert panthers or mountain lions, and I'm very, very excited about the potential to be able to see some of this wildlife. Not sure it's going to happen, but that's going to be the theme for this video, is a real wildlife experience. So let's go. We're off to the canyon. After a short hike, here we are in Dog Canyon. Look at this. All the way oh my gosh, it's huge here. So when you get out here into the deserts, into this very rugged country, it gets hard to find water. So in the 1890s, the federal government in the United States actually went to Egypt and nabbed about 33 camels to give to forest rangers to have them go up and down trails just like this dry riverbed behind me right now, which is incredible. I think it was probably in the early 1900s where the camel experiment, as they called it, was ended. But they were a perfect animal because you could just carry enough water for yourself instead of your animal, because your camels can go about 72 hours without significant water. So it was an amazing idea that wasn't particularly good for the environment. So the federal government ended it. But it's pretty amazing to think that about 100 years ago, just over 100 years ago, there were camels walking up and down this trail. I wanted to show you this because I just spotted it on the way out. This right here is bear scat. If you look closely at this. Now, in the 1940s, 50s or so, bears were actually extirpated from this area. They were hunted to extinction in this particular region. Black bears, only black bears, no grizzly bears in this area as far as I know. But about the 1960s or so, according to the sign out on the road, bears from their Mexican population actually remigrated into this area and have had a small breeding population ever since. Now there's only estimated to be about maybe 20 to 30 bears in Big Bend National Park to this day, but this right here is undoubtedly some bear scat. You can tell by the nuts they're eating and kind of the shape of it. This is very characteristic of bears. There's not many animals that eat like that in the desert. So what we're looking at right here is the home of one of the few black bears that calls this massive area of Big Bend National Park home. So it's pretty cool to be able to experience some of the animals' homes that have come back after being extinct from this area. Remember how we were talking about the most precious resources in the desert? Well, here it is. Water. These are little puddles just right outside the canyon that I came from. The animals survive off of, especially during the heat of summer. I don't know how they do it when these soak up, man. It's just amazing that animals can survive out here during the heat. I'm learning a lot about Big Bend while I'm here. For example, this is a life-size replica of the famous Dinosuki, the biggest crocodile, as far as we know, that ever lived. And if you want a quick size comparison to how big its head was compared to me, like, look at this, dude. This thing was huge. You could walk all along this massive crocodile. My gosh, like 50 feet long. I am here at a site I've wanted to visit for weeks now. This is the Hot Springs Trail in Big Bend National Park. That's where we're going. Let's hit it. So this right here is the cold pool that I'm gonna come soak in after I'm done at the hot springs. Haven't found the hot springs yet though. So just check out how beautiful this is. We got a great spot to come back to. We just gotta find the hot water now. I just found them. Just hopped out of the hot springs. The hot springs are hot. This is the river, and right over here is Mexico. So I feel like it'd be a sin against humanity if we didn't at least illegally immigrate once in our lives. So oh man, I feel dirty, like I've broken the law. But this is Mexico. Pretty amazing, man. Pretty amazing. These hot springs, exactly what I needed. Exactly what I needed. So awesome. Great people here. There is nothing in the world that makes me feel quite as good and relaxed and peaceful as those hot water, the geothermal hot springs coming up from the earth. It's just a magical, magical thing. But now that we did the hot water, we got to go cool down. So I'm going back to the oasis and let's go. I can't make this up, man. I think this image right here might be one of the most beautiful single picturesque scenes I've ever experienced. Like, I feel like I have to whisper because of how pretty this is. This is so cool, so beautiful. Check it out, it's the first light of the day. Let's go. Let's go. Oh my God. Ah. It's the second day in Big Bend National Park, and I've walked about 1.5 miles, 2 miles out into the desert to get myself a nice little glassing knoll where I can hopefully spot some animals crossing this desert. Right behind me I've got a little corridor that kind of enters into the mountains and I think might be a high traffic animal area, and right in front of me I've got all this land that I can potentially spot something. So I'm pretty excited to be out here. Let's wait probably about 15 minutes, give nature time to realize there's not a human here, to become part of the environment, to listen. I'll catch back up with you. It hasn't even been 15 minutes and I'm already looking at an animal that I can't even quite understand what it is. If you look closely over on this hill, you're not going to be able to see it in the camera. Right about here is a herd of animals moving across the slope. Now, the confusing part about it is that, as far as I know, the only native animals to this part that would move like that are white-tailed deer, maybe bighorn sheep, I suppose possibly a pronghorn, but pronghorn aren't in the mountain on the rocks like this. What I think I'm looking at is a small herd of introduced Himalayan ibex. Now, I know they live in New Mexico. There is a breeding population of a non-native ibex from like India or something. They live in New Mexico, hunted just because hunters wanted them there. I thought they were confined to just one mountain range. And now, after spending just about 10 minutes quiet in the forest and listening, I'm looking at a group of animals that cannot be found on this side of the world in most cases. This is spectacular. Oh my gosh. I'm getting ready to head back to the car after spending just about maybe 20-30 minutes out here listening. I don't even know if it was that long, man, but I just saw whatever these things were. These little antelope looking ibex things that don't look like anything native that I've seen in America. That was amazing. And what it's been showing me is that even though I'm a hiker, I've spent so much time in the wilderness, I spent a lot of time hiking through environments like this, what I haven't done is spent a lot of time learning to understand and be part of those environments. Because when you're a hiker, you're always moving. You're like, oh, I got to get to the top of this peak, right? I got to get to the top of it. And you're not stopping to look around. Stopping down here on the lowland, spending some time just looking up into the mountains, listening. I heard those rocks fall and I knew there was an animal on that face. And the closer I looked, I realized there were probably like 10 of these little antelope looking things. Gosh, man, I think they were ibex. I don't know though. They were just running across this hill. And that's something I never would have got to experience if I was trying to hike to that hill. So being part of the environment is something that's been eye-opening and important for me. And this is so important, and the reason why I'm doing it is because come fall 2022, right now it's February 9th, I believe, 2022. Come fall, which means August, September, like that sort of area in the year, is deer season in Montana. I've never been on a wild hunt in my life, and I think it's time to do it. I want to be one of the people that understands where my meat comes from, that has a play, that can respect it, that can cry over the idea of harvesting an animal, so I can actually respect it, learn how to thank that animal, and be able to prepare my meat instead of getting it from a factory. So come this fall, I'm preparing to go for a hunt, and this is what I'm practicing, learning how to do, understanding the environments, learning where to find the animals, and trying to scope out exactly how that hunt's gonna look. So that's still a few months away for sure, but you are absolutely going to be coming with me for that hunt, and I'm very excited for it. For now, we've got probably a 1.5 to 2 mile hike back to the car. It's been a great trip, guys. I'll see you in the next one.